how Shia LaBeouf went from Disney darling to Hollywood horror story.
I was a pleasure-seeking, selfish, self-centered, dishonest, inconsiderate, fearful human being.
The child star curse is when young talent are given money, fame, and fortune, then exploited by the same industry that gave them everything. Shia LaBeouf is the poster child for this curse. Shia LaBeouf's entry into the world of acting was nothing short of remarkable. Born on June 11th, 1986 in Los Angeles, California, Shia's roots were steeped in artistic struggle. His parents, Shayna Sade and Jeffrey LaBeouf, were artists who never found their audience, leaving the family in poverty. Shia's mother peddled fabrics and jewelry in Echo Park, while his father, a Vietnam vet, sold hot dogs and performed as a street clown. Their money problems were made worse by Jeffrey's dark side, a heroin habit, and a rap sheet as a sex offender. Early life was traumatic for Shia. At just 9, he watched his dad head to rehab, leaving him and his mom to fend for themselves. But their fight was futile, encapsulated in one horrifying night in a Los Angeles motel. Shia overheard his mom being assaulted. His feeling of absolute helplessness that night left a deep scar on him, seeing him to this day sleep with a gun under his pillow. Growing up poor, Shia found himself on the wrong side of the law early on. At just 9 years old, Shia was arrested for the first time after he was caught stealing a pair of Nike Cortezes from a local shop. He was held in a prison cell for 6 hours before being released. To escape their tough situation, young Shia turned to comedy, quickly becoming a hit in LA clubs at the very young age of 10. His sharp humor, which was mostly aimed at drunken adults, made him stand out. But laughs didn't pay the bills or buy the sneakers he wanted. Shia's big break came in Malibu back in 1996. He bumped into a sharply dressed kid who casually revealed that he was an actor. That inspired Shia to dive into the yellow pages. Pretending to be his own manager, he called up every commercial or TV opportunity he could find. His relentless hustle paid off when an agent decided to give him a shot. This led to roles in commercials and minor TV appearances. But just when Shia was building some career momentum at just 11, he was arrested for a second time in the city of Tujunga, California. Shia was caught stealing a Pokemon Game Boy from Kmart. But 2 years later, at the turn of the century, Shia hit the jackpot, landing the lead role in Disney Channel's Even Stevens as the lovable troublemaker Louis Stevens. The show was a massive success, making him a household name and earning Shia an Emmy. But behind the scenes, the picture was far from perfect. Shia was living with his father, who after coming out of rehab had turned abusive. They stayed in a grim $45 a night motel, scraping by on his Disney paycheck. While the fame glittered on the surface, Shia's reality was anything but glamorous. Shia's meteoric rise from Disney child star to blockbuster movie maker. As LaBeouf outgrew his Disney Channel roots, he transitioned to film. In 2003, he starred in Holes, a movie adaptation of the popular novel. His performance as Stanley Yelnats showcased his versatility to tackle more serious roles and create massive box office success. After landing a number of roles over the next few years, in 2007, Shia got a role that would completely change his life. Playing the lead of Sam Witwicky in what would become one of the most successful film franchises ever, Transformers cemented Shia as a household name. Off the first film's success, spawned a total of 7 films for the franchise that have brought in a whooping $5.2 billion in the box office and rocketed Shia to become Hollywood's go-to leading man. But at the height of his success, when Shia thought he'd escaped the trauma and troubles from his past, the first signs of his downfall started to show. After staying on the right side of the law for 9 years, Shia's troublemaking habits came back. In 2006, Shia had an argument with his neighbor, which quickly escalated and saw him attempting to stab them. Shia spent 2 days in jail because of it and is quoted saying, "While I was there, I at least understood that being in jail is not the move." Though he clearly didn't learn his lesson, as in 2007, Shia found himself in a bizarre showdown at a Chicago Walgreens. Refusing to leave the store, he was slapped with a misdemeanor criminal trespassing charge and spent the night in a holding cell. Fast forward to 2008, and things got even wilder. Right off the cusp of his Indiana Jones feature as Harrison Ford's nephew, Shia was driving in Los Angeles at 2:30 a.m. when he made a left turn at an intersection and collided with an oncoming car, rolling his Ford F-150 pickup truck in the process. When police arrived on the scene, they noticed that Shia was exhibiting obvious signs of intoxication. Police requested he take a breathalyzer, but he refused, resulting in him being arrested for suspicion of drunk driving. Though the charges were later dropped as there wasn't enough evidence to convict him, Shia didn't come away from the incident unscathed, sustaining an injury to his left hand which needed surgery. This forced the writing team on Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, which he was filming at the time, to rewrite his character to have an identical injury. Shia's unpredictable behavior was starting to see him not just on the cover of magazines, but featuring regularly in the tabloids. In 2014, Shia's life hit a tipping point, where previously he'd been able to limit his self-destructive tendencies. Everything exploded, and he wasn't holding back anymore. It started with Shia making a splash in Berlin. He showed up at the premiere of Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac Volume 1 in a tuxedo and a paper bag over his head. The bag's slogan, "I am not famous anymore," stole the show. This wasn't a one-off stunt either. Shia had been tweeting the phrase for weeks. Then when it came to answering questions from press, he walked out after answering just one question. Later that year, Shia brought his antics to Broadway. During a performance of Cabaret at NYC's Studio 54, his drunken escapades included smoking inside the theater, shouting at the actors, and even slapping Alan Cummings' butt.
And as I walked past him, he was at a table on the end of a row and he whacked me. Everyone was freaking out because there was someone who seemed to be a crazy person.
During intermission, the police were called and Shia was arrested and hauled to the station, spending 25 hours in solitary confinement. Shia's behavior continued to spiral out of control. In 2017, he was arrested in Georgia for public drunkenness and disorderly conduct. Body cam footage of the arrest showed LaBeouf making racist and inflammatory remarks to the arresting officers.
You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir? I'm a American. I pay my taxes to get the off my arm. You got a president who don't give a about you, and you stuck in a police force that don't give a about you. So you want to arrest white people who give a.
The most serious allegations against LaBeouf came in 2020 when his ex-girlfriend, musician FKA Twigs, filed a lawsuit accusing him of sexual battery, assault, and much worse. In 2018, FKA Twigs, or Talia DeBrett Barnett, met Shia LaBeouf on the set of his autobiographical film Honey Boy. Sparks flew and they started dating. In her lawsuit, she recalls those early days filled with over-the-top affection and grand gestures that quickly earned her trust. But experts call this the honeymoon phase of abusive relationships, a blissful period that lures you in, only to trap you in a cycle of control. Shia's charm quickly vanished, revealing a much darker side. Just after Valentine's Day in 2019, Shia and Barnett were on a romantic trip that quickly turned into a horror story. While driving, Shia turned into a maniac, threatening to crash the car if she didn't declare her love for him. Confused and desperate to get out of the car, she begged Shia to let her get out of the car at the next gas station. Eventually, with enough pleading, she let her get out of the car, but instead of leaving her, he followed her, assaulted her, and dragged her back into the car. His jealousy was off the charts. He hated her talking to male waiters, imposed bizarre rules about affection, and constantly criticized her. Shia isolated her, convincing her to stay in LA and cut ties with her support network in London. He planted seeds of distrust, making her believe her creative team was exploiting her. Living with him turned into a nightmare. He kept a loaded gun by the bed, and she feared he might mistake her for an intruder. He controlled what she wore to bed and turned minor disagreements into all-night battles, leaving her exhausted and sleep-deprived. FKA Twigs revealed that LaBeouf would bruise her by squeezing or grabbing her, but she never went to the police. Initially, she feared harming his career. Later, she doubted her story would be believed or taken seriously. The gas station incident had happened in public, yet no one intervened. When she tried confiding in a colleague, she was dismissed. With her therapist's help, she began planning her escape, but it wasn't easy. In spring 2019, as she was packing to leave, LaBeouf showed up unannounced, terrorizing her. According to a sworn statement from her housekeeper, he violently grabbed Barnett, locked her in a room, and screamed at her when she refused to go with him. Despite her financial means, it took multiple attempts to finally break free. Another ex, stylist Carolyn Foe, backed Barnett's claims, sharing her own horror story of being drunkenly pinned and headbutted by LaBeouf, leaving her bleeding. Now, Shia is on a mission to clean up his act. After getting slapped with FKA Twigs' lawsuit, he admitted to his abusive behavior and announced plans to tackle his addiction and mental health issues. He checked into rehab to face his demons head-on. In 2022, Shia owned up to everything he did.
I hurt that woman, you know, and in the process of doing that, I hurt many other people. And many other people before that woman. I was a pleasure-seeking, selfish, self-centered, dishonest, inconsiderate, fearful human being.
Despite trying to make amends, Shia LaBeouf's reputation and career has taken a major hit. The chances are infinitesimally small he will ever be placed on the Hollywood pedestal he once sat atop. But the real question is whether any success he does have in the future is deserved given the abuse and destruction he's left in his wake.